You have been taught a great lie. You believe that to change your life, you must struggle, strive, and beg some distant power for favors. This is the error that keeps you in lack and limitation. I am here to reveal that the very substance of all creation is already within you, waiting only for your recognition, for your conscious agreement with its nature. There is a spiritual practice, so simple yet so profound, that it can dissolve the illusion of separation between you and your good. It is not in many words, but in a specific 7-word utterance, a declaration of truth that, when spoken from the depths of your being, aligns you with infinite flow. This is not magic. This is the sacred mechanics of consciousness itself. If you are ready to move beyond prayer, as petition into prayer, as acknowledgement of what already is, then what you will discover here will transform everything. You will learn to speak these words not into the world, but into the kingdom within, and watch as the universe tirelessly mirrors that inner reality. Therefore, approach this not as a viewer, but as a practitioner, to take this truth into your consciousness and let it live through you. I subscribe to this channel as an act of commitment to your own unfolding, and to seal your readiness in this moment, I invite you to comment with the number 579, symbolizing your step onto the path of conscious co-creation. This conscious agreement is not merely positive thinking or blind affirmation. It is the profound, silent recognition of a spiritual fact already in existence prior to its appearance in your world. Consider the sun. It shines by its own nature, irrespective of whether a cloud passes before it or a blindfold is placed over your eyes. Your agreement with the sun is not what makes it shine. Your agreement is what allows you to step out of the shadow and experience its light. So it is with the infinite source of your being. It is the very substance of all form, the invisible substance of your health, your abundance, your harmony, your right relationships. Your struggle, your sense of lack, is the cloud, the blindfold. The practice is to become still and agree with the light that never ceases to shine. You see, the world trains you to agree with evidence. If your body feels pain, you agree with the pain and call it sickness. If your bank account shows a certain figure, you agree with that figure and call it your limit. If a relationship is discordant, you agree with the discord and call it your reality. This is agreeing with the shadow. It is giving power to the effect and ignoring the cause. True spiritual power resides in turning away, not ignorantly, but knowingly, from the testimony of the senses to the silent, ever-present reality of spirit. This is not denial of a situation. It is denial of that situation's power, permanence, and identity as separate from the one creative source. You withdraw the agreement from the appearance and place it upon the underlying truth. Think of a moment of pure joy you have experienced, perhaps watching a sunset or hearing a piece of music that moved you. In that instant, you are not thinking of your bills, your aches, your worries. You are in a state of agreement with beauty, with harmony. And in that agreement, all sense of lack vanished. You were whole, complete, and at peace. That was a fleeting moment of unconscious agreement with reality. Now, imagine wielding that same faculty with conscious, deliberate intent. Not waiting for a sunset to trigger it, but turning within and agreeing with the principle of harmony itself, regardless of the outer symphony. This is where the 7 words serve as your key. They are not a mantra to chant mindlessly. They are a specific, divine utterance that, when spoken from the depths of your understanding, shatters the agreement with limitation. When you feel the pang of fear about the future, instead of agreeing with that fear and feeding it with endless anxious thoughts, you stop. You become silent. And then, from that stillness, you speak these 7 words as a deep inward acknowledgement. You are not speaking to change God, to change the universe. You are speaking to change your own point of agreement. You are shifting your consciousness from the problem to the presence of the solution, which is already intact in the invisible. Take a practical example, a sense of financial pressure. The world's way is to agree with the pressure, to worry, to scheme, to labor from a sense of lack. This only deepens the agreement with the condition. The spiritual way is to pause, to sit quietly and recognize that the intelligence which formed the universe, which conceived of gold in the earth and fruit on the tree, is the very same intelligence that constitutes your own being. It is not poor. It is infinite creativity itself. Your agreement, then, is not with the empty wallet, but with this infinite creative source as your very own substance. You might say, but nothing changes. Indeed, the outer form may not shift instantly, but something of supreme importance has changed. You have changed. You have withdrawn your consent from the tyranny of lack. You have planted your flag in the kingdom of spiritual abundance. And from that moment, your actions, your impulses, your opportunities begin to flow from that new center of agreement. You may be led to make a different decision, to reach out to a different person, to see a resource you had overlooked. This is the light finding its way through as the cloud of your agreement dissipates. Or consider a conflict with another. To agree with reality is to recognize that the same one life, the one spirit, is the identity of all. To hold a grievance is to agree with the illusion of separation, to empower the shadow of a mistaken identity. The practice is to withdraw agreement from the personality, your own and the others, and to agree only with the one spirit dwelling within all. You do this silently, within your own consciousness. You release the story of injury and acknowledge the unbroken harmony of spirit. This inner act does not necessarily mean the other person will change their behavior, though it often leads to a softening. Its primary miracle is that it changes you. It frees you from the prison of resentment and allows you to walk in peace, regardless of the other's actions. Your agreement is with wholeness, and so you become whole. This conscious agreement is the most active work you can ever do. It is not passive acceptance of circumstances. It is the dynamic, spiritual act of aligning your sense of self, your I am, with the infinite I am that is forever expressing itself in completeness, joy, and boundless freedom. It begins not with changing the world, but with this radical inner shift of authority. When you stop agreeing with the world's testimony and start agreeing with the still, small voice of truth within, you are not just wishing upon a star. You are anchoring yourself to the very sun of being, and from that anchorage, all shadows must, in time, flee. Your experience then becomes not a battle to achieve, but a gradual unfoldment of what you have already, in your deepest moments of clarity, agreed is so. This movement from petition to acknowledgement represents the difference between living as a beggar at the gates of a palace and realizing you are the heir living within its halls. Petition arises from the belief in separation, from the feeling that what you need or desire is outside yourself, held by another, and must be granted through a transaction of worthiness or pleading. Acknowledgement, in its sacred sense, is the quiet, unshakable recognition of a finished spiritual fact. It is not saying, please let there be peace, but inwardly declaring, I acknowledge the omnipresence of peace here now. It is not begging, give me supply, but knowing. I acknowledge the infinite substance of my being, manifest as all form. Think of how you pray when faced with a crisis. The instinct is to cry out, to formulate a request. Please fix this. Please remove this problem. Please give me that. This is the prayer of the prodigal son in the distant country, feeling apart from his source. But the prayer of acknowledgement is the moment of remembrance, the turning within and realizing, I am in my Father's house. All that the Father has is mine. You are not asking for something to be created or sent. You are acknowledging what is eternally, spiritually present, and then letting that acknowledgement adjust your consciousness to receive its evidence. Your daily life is filled with unconscious acknowledgments that shape your reality. When you wake feeling tired and say, I am so exhausted, and proceed to have a dragging day, you have acknowledged fatigue as your truth and your experience conforms. When you look at a challenging project and think, this is impossible for me, you have acknowledged limitation, and your abilities seem to contract to match that belief. You are already a master of acknowledgement, but your power has been turned toward the wrong evidence. You have been acknowledging the reality of appearances, the reality of effects. The spiritual journey is the retraining of this mighty faculty toward the cause, toward the substance behind the form. Take the experience of anxiety about a future event, a crucial meeting, a difficult conversation. The petitionary prayer is a storm of, please let it go well. Please don't let me fail. Please make them like me. This prayer, rooted in fear and the sense of a separate, vulnerable self, only amplifies the feeling of being at the mercy of external forces. The prayer of acknowledgement requires a profound inner stillness. You cease the mental chatter, and in that silence, you turn your attention away from the swirling images of potential disaster. You turn to the presence of harmony, of right action, of divine intelligence. You do not ask for it to come. You acknowledge it as the very fabric of being operating here in this situation as the true identity of all involved. You might inwardly declare, I acknowledge the one divine mind expressing as perfect wisdom and right words now. This is not a wish. It is a statement of spiritual fact. The anxiety may not vanish in an instant, but its foundation is removed. You have shifted from agreeing with the problem to agreeing with the omnipresent solution. Your inner posture changes from one of pleading to one of abiding. From that place of acknowledged oneness, you find your thoughts clearer, your demeanor more calm, and the situation unfolds from an unexpected grace. Or consider a physical ailment, a persistent pain. The world's prayer is a desperate petition to a distant God to heal this. It reinforces the belief that the body is a separate, flawed machine in need of external repair. But the prayer of acknowledgement approaches it differently. In the quiet, you withdraw your frantic attention from the sensation of pain. You turn to the truth of your being. I acknowledge the living spirit that formed this body, the eternal, incorporeal life that is my true substance. You are not attacking the pain. You are ignoring its claim to be your reality and giving your full conscious agreement to the reality of indwelling perfect life. You are acknowledging the sun while the cloud of sensation passes. This practice may need repetition, a constant, gentle turning of the agreement from the appearance to the truth. Healing, then, is not something that happens to the body. It is the inevitable outer evidence of an inner agreement that has been corrected. The body, as part of the universe, must eventually conform to the conscious agreement you are holding in mind. This is the secret the mystics knew. Prayer is not for informing God of your needs. It is for adjusting your own consciousness to receive what is already given. Acknowledgement is that adjustment. It is the yes spoken to the infinite. When you stop pleading with life and start acknowledging the perfection of spirit in the midst of any situation, you cease being an actor in a drama of lack and become a witness to the drama of infinite self-revelation. Your role is not to make, but to recognize, not to build, but to unveil. Every moment then becomes an opportunity for this sacred acknowledgement, moving you from the perception of a world of problems to be solved into the direct experience of a spiritual universe, already whole, already complete, awaiting only your conscious agreement to appear as such in your daily walk. This brings us to the profound utility of the 7-word declaration, a tool not of creation, but of realization. It is the specific utterance that crystallizes your shift from petition to acknowledgement, a verbal key that turns the lock on the door separating you from your conscious union. These are not ordinary words strung together for effect. They are spiritual technology chosen for their precise ability to bypass the intellect and resonate with the soul's inherent knowing. They serve as a bridge, carrying you from the shore of problem, consciousness, to the shore of solution, consciousness. When spoken from the depth of your being, they are not a request sent outwards, but a command of truth issued inward to your own awareness. ordering it to align with what is eternally true. Why must it be these exact words? For the same reason a specific combination opens a specific lock. The intellect, the personal mind, is a repository of doubt, memory, and past conditioning. It speaks the language of how, why, and when. It will argue with a general affirmation, dissect it, and render it powerless. But a precise, spiritually potent declaration, when received not as a thought, but as a living truth, can slip past the intellect's guard. It lands in the heart of your being, in the realm of pure awareness, where it resonates with a truth that is already written. It is not informing you of something new. It is triggering a remembrance of what you have always known in your spiritual self. The power is not in the sound, but in the conscious agreement the sound represents, the full, unconditional surrender of your faith to that one statement of spiritual law. Consider a moment of being overwhelmed by responsibilities, feeling scattered and fragmented. The mind races with 100 details, a sense of burden. To simply think, I am at peace, may feel hollow, a lie told over a cacophony. But to stop, to become utterly still, and then to speak these 7 words, not as a hope, but as a decree from the very center of your being, is a different act entirely. It is not denying the business. It is rising above the level of the business to the level of the one mind that can harmoniously orchestrate all things. The words are the vehicle for that ascent. As you speak them, you are not describing a future feeling, you are invoking a present reality. The clutter of thoughts may not vanish, but you have, in that moment, placed your agreement on a rock beneath the waves. From that anchored place, actions become orderly, priorities clarify, and a calm efficiency emerges not from you, but through you. Take another example, the grip of resentment. When you replay an old injury, you are in a state of active petition, though you may not see it as such. You are, in effect, praying to the past, asking it to be different, pleading for a justice you feel was denied. This prayer binds you to the very source of your pain. To speak a general, I forgive, can be mental, a concept without power. But to engage in this specific spiritual practice is to do something radical. You withdraw your attention from the mental movie of the event. You silence the argument. And then, from the void, you speak the 7 words as an acknowledgement of a higher fact. You are acknowledging the reality of spirit over the illusion of a past wrong. You are not forgiving a person's action from a place of moral superiority. You are annihilating the false power the event holds over your consciousness by declaring a greater truth. The feeling may not lift instantly, but you have revoked its license to define your inner world. You have shifted your agreement from the story of victimhood to the truth of your inviolable spiritual freedom. This declaration is your sword and your shield in the marketplace of daily life. Faced with a looming lack, perhaps an unexpected bill, a client lost, the mind plunges into calculations of fear. The old prayer is one of panic. The new practice is one of profound inward action. You turn from the spreadsheet, you close your eyes on the worry, and you speak these words, you are not asking for money. You are acknowledging the infinite, ever-present substance in which both you and the need are appearances. You are declaring your oneness with the source, not the shortage. This act realigns your consciousness from scarcity to flow. It doesn't magically make the bill vanish, though solutions often appear in remarkable ways. Its primary miracle is that it dissolves the fear, the sense of separation from your good. From that poised, unshaken center, intelligent action arises, a call you are led to make, an idea that suddenly dawns, a resource you had forgotten. The outer picture adjusts to mirror your inner declaration of wholeness. The practice, then, is one of faithful repetition, not as empty ritual, but as a constant tuning of an instrument. You are the instrument, and these 7 words are the tuning fork that brings you back to the pitch of truth. You use them the moment a wave of fear, doubt, or limitation tries to sweep you into the old agreement with appearances. Each time you speak them from conviction, you wear a little smoother the neural pathway of the old consciousness and carve a little deeper the riverbed of the new. They become your immediate sanctuary, your portable altar. You are not waiting for a holy day or a quiet chapel. You are using the word here in the traffic jam, in the tense meeting, in the doctor's waiting room, to acknowledge the perpetual presence of the divine, right where you are. This is the active demonstration that your good is not contingent on outer circumstance, but on your inner agreement, and you now hold the keys to that agreement in the form of a sacred 7-word key. This inward address is the very core of the mystery. You are not speaking these words to influence the world, to bend people to your will, or to alter the weather. Such efforts are the remnants of the old petitionary consciousness, the belief that power is out there and must be lobbied. The kingdom, the creative medium, the substance of all form, is within you. Therefore, your declaration is not broadcast outward, but focused inward, into the very heart of your own awareness. You are speaking to the only presence that can ever hear you, the infinite I am, that is your true identity. You are not informing God, you are informing yourself of God. You are awakening your own consciousness to its inherent state of oneness with the source, thereby allowing that source to flow forth unobstructed into expression. Think of your consciousness as a pristine pool of water. The outer world is the reflection upon its surface. If the surface is agitated by winds of fear, stirred by storms of doubt, or muddied by resentment, the reflection is chaotic and distorted. To shout at the reflection, to beg it to change, is futile. The prayer of inward address is the act of becoming still, of letting the winds die down and the sediment settle. The 7-word utterance is the gentle command for that stillness, spoken not to the reflection, but to the waters themselves. When the pool is calm and clear, it naturally reflects the sky, the sun, the trees in their perfection. The correction is always made at the level of the water, never at the level of the image. So it is with you. Your work is always within. Consider how you typically Try to solve a problem in a relationship. You rehearse speeches. You analyze the other person's faults. You plan strategies to get them to see your point. This is all manipulation of the reflection. It is exhausting and rarely yields peace. The practice of inward address requires a complete cessation of that outer mental effort. You go silent. You turn your attention completely away from the personality of the other, away from your own grievance. You turn within to the kingdom. There, in that quiet, you acknowledge the only spiritual reality, one life, one spirit, individuated as both of you. You speak your declaration of truth into that silence, not to change the other, but to change your own awareness of what is true about the relationship. You are acknowledging the presence of harmony within the kingdom. As you do this, something in you softens, releases. The agitation on your pool's surface begins to calm. You may find then that the next interaction is different, not because you forced it, but because you are different. The reflection has altered because the medium has been corrected. Take the experience of seeking guidance on a major decision. The mind swings like a pendulum between options, weighing pros and cons, fueled by anxiety about choosing wrong. This is the mind seeking an answer from the world of effects, from the kingdom of opposites. Inward address bypasses this entirely. You cease the mental debate. You sit not to think, but to listen. You turn within to the kingdom where divine intelligence already knows the perfect pattern, the next right step. You might speak your words as an acknowledgement of this indwelling knowing. I acknowledge the one mind directing me clearly now. You are not asking, which door should I choose? You are declaring your oneness with the intelligence that designed the doors. From that settled, receptive state, an answer often emerges not as a loud command, but as a silent knowing, a gentle leaning, a sudden clarity. Or you may be led to take a step, and the rightness of it is confirmed as you move. The guidance was never in the weighing of options, but in the alignment of your consciousness with the source of all direction. This is the secret the world has forgotten: your environment. Your circumstances, your body, are not fixed, external realities to which you must submit. They are living expressions of your inner, agreed upon state of consciousness. To try to fix your life by manipulating the expressions is like trying to adjust the images on a movie screen by touching the screen itself. The projector is within. The inward address is your direct interaction with the projector. When you feel lack, you do not focus on the empty space and try to fill it from the outside. You turn within and acknowledge the infinite substance of the kingdom as your present reality. You speak to that substance. You agree with it. As that agreement becomes your lived conviction, the projector adjusts, and the images on the screen of your experience must change to conform to the new film being run. Every moment of distress, then, is not a signal to fight the world, but a call to retreat into the kingdom. The anger you feel in traffic is an invitation to turn within and acknowledge peace. The anxiety before a performance is a summons to turn within and acknowledge the one life expressing itself perfectly. The pain in the body is a prompting to turn within and acknowledge the incorporeal spirit that is your true substance. You are not ignoring the world. You are correcting it at its only point of origin within your own awareness. This practice makes you a sovereign, not a slave. You are no longer at the mercy of appearances because you know the place from which they spring, and you hold the sacred words that can adjust that source. You walk through your days not as a victim of circumstances, but as a conscious porter of the kingdom, knowing that whatever you acknowledge there, in that holy of holies, must eventually take form in the world you walk. The power was never out there. The address for all creation was always and only within. This understanding reveals the universe not as a capricious force to be bargained with, but as a flawless, impersonal, and utterly faithful mirror. It holds no opinion, makes no judgment, and shows no favoritism. Its sole function is to reflect back to you, in the form of experience, the living contents of your own consciousness, not your fleeting thoughts, but your deep, abiding agreements. Your core convictions about the nature of reality and yourself. You are not receiving rewards or punishments from an external deity. You are observing the perfect correspondence between your inner state and your outer condition. When you stand before this mirror with a consciousness of lack, it can only show you lack. When you stand before it with a consciousness of wholeness, it has no choice but to manifest that wholeness in 1,000 visible forms. This is the great law operating with mechanical precision. It is why positive thinking so often fails. If you affirm, "I am abundant," while in the depths of your being, you are clenched in the fearful agreement with scarcity, the mirror is not reflecting your words. It is reflecting your fear. The words are just a surface ripple on a deep pool of lack consciousness. The mirror shows you the pool, not the ripple. Your work, therefore, is not to perfect the affirmation, but to change the quality of the pool itself. The 7-word declaration, when spoken from the depth of your soul, is the tool that reaches those depths and stirs the very bottom, shifting the sediment of old, fearful agreements, and allowing the clear water of truth to rise. Consider a person who feels consistently betrayed in relationships. They may outwardly seek a loving partner, but inwardly, their deep-seated agreement is with the belief, "I cannot be trusted," or "I am unworthy of love," or "people will always leave." They stand before the mirror of the universe with that face, that inner agreement, and the universe, being faithful, must show them experiences that correspond partners who are untrustworthy, situations that make them feel unworthy, abandonments. To change this, they must cease trying to control the reflection, screening partners more fiercely, building higher walls. They must turn away from the mirror entirely and go within. There, in the silence, they must dissolve the old agreement. They must use their declaration to acknowledge a different spiritual truth. I acknowledge the presence of divine love as my very being and my only relationship. They are not just saying words. They are painstakingly revising the deep script. As this new agreement becomes their genuine inner state, they stand before the mirror with a new face. The old reflections simply cannot persist. They fade, and new forms, harmonious with love, must appear. Not because the universe was cruel and now is kind, but because the universe is forever faithful to the image you present. Take a more mundane example, the daily commute. If you begin the drive with a clenched feeling, an agreement with frustration, anticipating traffic and idiocy on the road, you have presented that face to the mirror. The universe will oblige with red lights, slow drivers, and near misses, perfectly reflecting your inner state of agitated resistance. The practice is to catch yourself in that moment of tightening. Before you even start the car, you turn within. You speak your truth, acknowledging the presence of harmony, right movement, and peace. You are not asking for a clear road. You are establishing within yourself the consciousness of flow. Then you drive. The traffic may still be physically present, but your experience of it is transformed. You are no longer in a battle. You find yourself in the right lane, you catch the lights, or you simply remain untroubled by the slowdown. The outer picture may or may not shift dramatically, but your inner landscape has, and therefore your entire experience, which is the only reality you truly live in, has shifted from hellish to harmonious. The mirror is now reflecting your peace, even if it uses the same cause to do so. This mirror never sleeps. It is reflecting your agreements not just in large life events, but in the subtle texture of every hour. A morning that begins with the muttered agreement, "This is going to be a terrible day," sets a trajectory. The mirror receives that as your standing order and fills the hours with minor irritations, setbacks, and frustrations, each one confirming your original decree. The miraculous opportunity lies in the fact that you can countermand that order at any moment. When the first small thing goes wrong, instead of cementing the agreement by declaring, "See, I knew it!" you have the power to pause. You turn from the frustrating reflection, go inward to the kingdom, and issue a new command from a higher authority. You speak your declaration of harmony, of divine order. You are, in that instant, changing the face you present to the mirror. The rest of the day must then rearrange itself to reflect this new, revised agreement. It may not become perfect, but the momentum of chaos is broken and a new flow, one of grace and unexpected solutions, can begin. This is the end of superstition and the beginning of spiritual science. You are no longer a leaf blown by the winds of fate, wondering what you did to deserve your storms. You are the gardener of your own inner landscape, knowing with certainty that what you plant and cultivate within, your deep, silent agreements with either fear or love, lack or wholeness, will inevitably, infallibly blossom into the garden of your lived experience. The universe is not your adversary. It is the most loyal friend you have, forever showing you, with impeccable clarity, exactly who and what you believe yourself to be. The shock, the liberation, comes when you finally realize you hold complete responsibility for the face you choose to present to that boundless, reflecting silence. To mistake this for a philosophy to be admired is to miss the point entirely. This is not an intellectual proposition. It is a call to embodied realization. It demands practice, the consistent daily application of turning within and declaring your truth until that truth ceases to be a concept and becomes your lived atmosphere, the very air you breathe. You move from believing it to being it. The shift is not in your thoughts about life, but in your experience of life itself. You are not adding a new ritual to your old existence. You are allowing the old existence to dissolve in the light of a new awareness. This practice is the furnace where the sense of a separate, striving self is purified, revealing only the presence of the infinite operating as individual consciousness. Think of learning to play a beautiful piece of music on the piano. You can read the sheet music, understand the theory, and believe in the composer's genius. But until you sit at the instrument and place your fingers on the keys, practicing the passages again and again, the music remains an abstract idea. The wrong notes, the stiff fingers, the frustrating repetition. This is not failure. This is the necessary process of embodiment. The music must move from the page, through your mind, into your muscles and nerves, until finally it flows from you, not as an effortful performance, but as a natural expression. So it is with this spiritual truth. The 7 words are your sheet music. The moments of fear, doubt, and old reaction are your wrong notes. Your daily life is the instrument. You practice not to convince God, but to train your own being to resonate with the harmony that is already there, waiting to be played through you. Consider how you learn any new skill, like driving a car. At first, every action is conscious, fraught with effort, checking mirrors, coordinating clutch and accelerator, overthinking every turn. You are driving from the mind. But with practice, something shifts. The skill becomes embodied. You no longer think about the mechanics. You simply drive. You are present, responsive, and the action flows from a deeper place of integrated knowing. Your spiritual practice follows the same arc. Initially, you must consciously remember to turn within when a problem strikes. You must deliberately stop the mental storm to speak your declaration. It may feel forced, even hollow. This is the clumsy initial stage. But with faithful repetition, a profound integration occurs. The turn within becomes your first and natural response, not your last resort. The declaration arises from a stillness that is already there, waiting. You are no longer practicing spirituality in moments of crisis. You are living from a spiritually embodied state that meets all experience from its own poised center. Take a practical arena, your relationship with money. You can read all the principles about infinite substance, but if, when a bill arrives, you still feel that old clutch of anxiety in your gut, the principle is not yet embodied. The practice is to take that very sensation as your cue. The moment you feel the clutch, you stop. You do not follow the anxious thoughts. You place your attention not on the bill, nor on a desired future of abundance, but on the living presence within. You speak your words. You are, in that instant, practicing embodiment. You are teaching your nerves, your emotions, your very cells to respond not to the symbol of lack, but to the reality of substance. The first time, the anxiety may only lessen a little. The 10th time, it may lift more quickly. The 100th time, you may find the clutch never comes at all. Instead, there is a quiet recognition of resourcefulness. The truth has moved from your head to your gut. It is now embodied. Your actions with money will then flow from that embodiment, not from fear, but from a calm knowing of support, leading to surprising ingenuity and effortless right action. Or observe a reactive emotion like jealousy. It flares, a hot, compelling sensation that seems to demand obsessive thoughts and defensive actions. To try to argue with it mentally is often futile. Embodied practice is different. When the heat of jealousy arises, you acknowledge the sensation without following its story. You do not justify it or condemn it. You simply feel its fire, and then, with that feeling as your catalyst, you turn within. You speak your declaration of the one life, the one spirit expressing in all. You are not repressing the feeling. You are meeting it with a greater truth until the feeling, having no old agreement to fuel it, dissipates like mist in the sun. This is the alchemy of practice. You are using the lower vibration as the very fuel for your ascent. Each time you do this, you are less a puppet jerked by the strings of emotion and more the conscious witness who chooses the atmosphere of your own soul. The jealousy, when it appears, becomes shorter, weaker, until it is merely a ghost of a former pattern with no power to move you. This is how the new consciousness is built, not in a blinding flash, but in the patient, persistent moments of daily return. You are building a new nervous system for the spirit. The commute, the difficult conversation, the moment of praise, the moment of criticism, each is a rehearsal room. In each, you have the choice to operate from the old, automatic agreements of the personal self, or to enact the new agreement with the divine. This practice is the most practical thing you will ever do, for it transforms the quality of every single experience you will have for the rest of your life. It is not about attaining a future state of perfection. It is about realizing the perfection of spirit here, now, in the midst of the ordinary, by repeatedly choosing to acknowledge it until that acknowledgement is no longer an act, but your state of being. The day comes when you are no longer a person trying to be spiritual. You are spirit, consciously expressing as a person, and your entire life becomes the unforced, natural evidence of that sublime embodiment.